Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Welcome to the weekend. I want to do a quick video here. Talk about a few stocks. The first one everybody's been talking about is MetaPlanet. Ticker symbol MTPLF. It is supposedly a Japanese version of MicroStrategy as a Bitcoin treasury company. And a lot of people have been rotating into it, and a lot of people also have been making a lot of money, lose a lot of money from this. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to try to compare this to MicroStrategy and see what the charts look like between the two. Do a little bit of side-by-side comparison. Another final thing is I want to talk about GME on a related note because they're supposed to be buying Bitcoin, but they really haven't been telling anybody whether or not they have or not. But the chart actually has been looking pretty good. It's been looking very good for a very long time, even before they were even talking about potentially buying Bitcoin with all the cash that they have. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that too at the end of the video. First off, MetaPlanet, right? MetaPlanet, ticker symbol MTPLF, has been available for trading since November 2024. And over the last few months or so, it's been a stock that's just been doing nothing but going sideways here. By going sideways, it's actually extremely volatile. Like lower end is like $1.50, upper end is like $5. But it's doing nothing for the last few months, right? So if you are looking at the price history, there's really not much here to chart. But there is they've been around for a lot longer than that. There's actually a Japanese ticker symbol 3350 that gives you a lot longer price history. We're going to talk about the one that's available in the United States is over the counter trading first, which is MTPLF. If I look at the weekly chart, I'll look at the Bollinger Band. It was squeezing because it did nothing for more than 20 months, and finally it had a very impulsive move to the upside. The problem of it is that the Bollinger Band is expanding, yes, but it's not expanding quick enough for this big impulsive move on the way up here to really be sustainable. You really need the Bollinger Band expansion before you're able to have a sustainable way on the way up. You can't just be way overextended above the upper Bollinger Band. Where's the upper Bollinger Band right now? Is $5.41. The price got all the way up here to around $16. It was just way too far, way too fast. There's not much to draw a FIB retracement or FIB extension level here, but if you draw a FIB sequence here from the top and the bottom here that's available for the history here, you can see that it really pushed up, and then after that got rejected by the 1.618 log fib, got rejected by the 1.44 log fib. I was seeing it happening, towards the end of the week. Got rejected at 1.272 log fib here, and that's kind of where it ended, right? And if you're also looking at not just the weekly, look at the daily, and with the daily, look this fib level here, actually it does turn out to fit pretty well, right? Because once it ended up breaking above the 0.886, which is the final boss, right? I often refer to 0.786 and 0.886 as like the final boss. If it breaks above that all-time high can happen. It spent quite a couple of weeks here underneath the 0.86, but eventually built up enough energy, and you have the Bollinger Band expansion here on the daily to allow price to really truly get expanded to the upside, right? The issue here, even look at the daily, this is way overextended. Like if you buy here, that was probably a poor risk-reward ratio. And the next thing you know is just end up, yeah, you're wrong. It's overextended, but it can keep going extended for a very long time and just keep going up a lot higher. But these two candles, if you were to buy here on Tuesday or you're bought here on Wednesday, you're exposing yourself to risk because it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band. On Thursday, it showed, right, because you just can't have two candles up here in space without even touching the upper Bollinger Band on daily. You have a huge correction here. Back down to 1.414 initially, think, hey, maybe we'll hold a 1.414 here. Nope, decided to go back, drop that underneath the 1.272 over here as well. Now, the issue here is that with this big giant expansion, great, the Bollinger Band is expanding, you have more room to go out here on the daily. The problem is you also have a gap down here that has yet to be filled around $5.32. It could come back down and fill the gap. We're not that far away from it. The 20-day moving average is going up, is trying to play catch up here. There is a potential for it to gravitate back up here to 20-day moving average and back test it. It's going to be around $5. It's probably not great risk reward ratio to buy up here, but this huge impulsive move here has opened up a bull trend. And if you were to buy up here, you probably subjected yourself to some short-term pain, extreme pain, if you will. But you probably end up having some long-term gain moving forward, but you might have to wait for a while. I think that looking at this, that's kind of where I'm thinking. You probably end up closing the gap because you're just not that far away from it anymore, and the 20-day moving average is getting pretty close to it. Now, if you want to get a better, longer price history here, instead of just looking at the 6-month history that's available on TradingView for this over-the-counter ticker, you can look at the Japanese version. The price is not really matching per se. The price actually is like extremely weird because I think this is in Japanese yen. I'm going to look at this because we have more price history. I can actually look at the monthly here. If you look at a monthly, you have a lot more price history that's available. This stock has been on a downtrend for a long time until it started becoming a Bitcoin treasury. And I believe that's the time when it started really just kind of push up over here. And it's been forming a lot higher highs and higher lows. It's a very, very nice parabolic bull trend. And it's been respecting these FIB levels here extremely well because it's been respecting the 0.5 here. Back tested 0.236 over here. And it got stuck here at 0.382 until it pushes through, and it back to the 0.5, now pushing through 0.618, but it got rejected here at 0.707, right? This is the trend that is showing. Now, if you're actually looking at, for example, it broke above the Ichimoku on the monthly, which is great. On the Bollinger Band here is expanding on the monthly, which is great too. If you look at the lower Bollinger Band, it continues to expand to the downside. That tells me that this bull trend is probably not over it. It probably end up keep going. The issue here is we're still a little bit outside the upper Bollinger Band here, even on the monthly, right? And on the weekly, you were way outside the upper Bollinger Band. You got rejected almost perfectly at the 0.707 locked fib. And on the daily, you have these crazy like candles that are just way outside the upper Bollinger Band here. That's not sustainable. So yeah, on the U.S. Trading market, actually end up dropping down a little bit, further. But regardless, I think the moral of the story is that it was way overextended right into important lock fib resistance and way outside the upper Bollinger Band. It's probably the risk reward ratio is probably poor if you were bought right there. But overall, I think that the impulsive bull trend, even on the weekly here, the impulsive bull trend is probably setting you up for another like move up higher. But you might end up having to cool down here a little bit longer. Who knows how long it's going to do that for, right? But I think that this impulsive move probably has just gotten started. I think on the monthly it tells you the story. You probably end up going up here for a while on a higher time frame. The issue and the issue that I don't like MetaPlanet is this. I don't like it whenever things just kind of gone way up for over a year to 15 months, all the way from like 14 yen, I guess, all the way up to like 1,200 yen. You already made like close to 100x from the bottom. On top of that, during this impulsive bull trend, it kept making higher highs and higher lows, but the RSI had a hard time really push above that much further. And right now you have price just kind of gone up here on bearish divergence here on the weekly. When was the last time I see something like this and liking it? When was the last time I saw something like that and liking it? Clean spark. You remember that crazy parabolic move up? Everybody's super excited about it. It was happening on bearish divergence, right? What happened after that? Do I really want to risk the potential of, the stock having some cool down here for a while? I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. All I know is on the higher time frame, it still look relatively bullish, even though you do have some bearish divergence here being built up on the monthly. Most likely, if I had to make the best guess, this would keep going up, but it's not a straight line up. It's going to be volatile, and a lot of people are probably going to end up getting burned here and there, especially if you're bought, way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the daily and the weekly. Probably end up going up higher. That's my best guess. But it's happening on bearish divergence. I'm cautious. Things have gone up almost close to 100x. I'm cautious. I don't really necessarily want to get into it. If you want to take a look at MSTR, what I think is happening with MSTR here is I think that it's not way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. It's not way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the weekly. But it didn't really have to really push through, right? So what ends up happening, you have a hard time pushing and expanding up a Bollinger Band, is coming back down here on the daily. What happened is already touched the lower Bollinger Band, is squeezing here because things have done nothing for more than 20 days, right? but it's already kind of hitting the lower Bollinger Band. You're already hitting the Kijun over here on the daily chart. On the weekly chart, it's hard to say. Whenever things get broken down from the upper Bollinger Band, it tends to gravitate back up to the 20-week moving average. So there's a potential it could come down to the 330, 340 range, especially when the weekly Ichimoku cloud is just right there. It still hasn't really touched it. It could touch it before going up higher. I just don't know what, exactly. But it's not overextended like MetaPlanet. If you had to plot the chart, let me see. I'm going to plot the chart called MSTR over MetaPlanet, right? The Japanese version, because I want more price history. So if I do that, if you see on the weekly here, it is a downtrend. MicroStrategy has actually underperformed MetaPlanet here for quite some time. But the interesting thing is, if you look at the RSI, you can see that it's building up some bullish divergence here now. Finally, price went down, or the ratio of the spread on MSTR over MetaPlanet went down here a little bit, but you actually have increase in RSI. I think the underperformance of MSTR over the MetaPlanet, especially since MetaPlanet is now a hot thing, it looks like MicroStrategy might want to take the handle back again from MetaPlanet. Because I'm starting to see a little bit of bullish divergence here. It doesn't mean that MetaPlanet is not going to outperform MicroStrategy still, but I think we're hitting an important zone over here that makes me wonder about a little bit. The other thing too, when I was opening up the order block detector by Lux Algo, when I'm looking at this, I actually see that there are some sign rotation, maybe back from MetaPlanet 3350 to MSTR here, because you have a buy block here, which basically means that maybe MSTR is actually going to do pretty good. You also have a gap down over here too that probably needs to be filled. On top of all that, all this spread over here has already touched a little Bollinger Band here. I think that there is a chance for you to have a little bit of reversal here for this spread ratio here for MicroStrategy to actually maybe start to perform a little bit better compared to MetaPlanet. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So if I have to choose between the two, because of the hype that MetaPlanet has, I'd rather stay away from that. You can argue that from a fundamental standpoint, but to me, I think liquidity matters more, and I think that trend matters more, and I'm a little bit worried about MetaPlanet short term. Long term, I think it's probably still going to do okay, but it does give me a little bit more like that clean spark feeling to it, based on the fact that it's been going up on bearish divergence and the hype has been extremely unreal. So I'm a little bit scared about that. Those are my thoughts. Now, what I'm not scared of is GME. GME is hitting a very important horizontal resistance zone over here, around $33. That's an important resistance there. It hit that. It could get rejected. It could be stuck in a range here for a very long time. But what I don't think is going to happen necessarily is I've looked at the monthly chart. It tells me a little bit of a different story. First of all, this big giant green candle here in January 2021 that's captured a lot of people's imagination and have created generation backholders for the last 5 years. This big giant candle over here and the candles after that, this big giant candle over here engulfs all of the candle bodies over here. These are 51 inside candle bodies, or inside candles, if you will. Inside candles just basically tell you that things are consolidating sideways. This thing has been consolidating sideways for about 51 months after January of 2021. What happens after the consolidation is over? Well, this is not going to be very helpful for you. It could either go up or it can go down, right? Well, what are some of the things that can tell us which way it's going to go? First thing, it generally, after period consolidation, it generally follows the primary trend. What is the primary trend? Is it up or is it down? The primary trend is up because this big candle over here is a higher high compared to the entire history of GME, right? And we just have a higher low over here compared to this low, or compared to really any of the previous low here for GME. So higher high, higher low, the primary trend is up. And because of that, the primary trend after this consolidation is going to end up being continuation to the upside. That's the highest probability that this is going to happen. Second thing, why is this chart bullish? And I've been talking about this for a very long time, for really when price is back up down here around like June or May, like it's after this big giant move up, what's going to happen next? Everybody's interested in that, right? Well, what's going to happen next is consolidation for a long time, because things have been extremely bullish here, but it was just simply way too far, way too fast, and need to cool off here, and people need to be bored by it before they can even have a chance to really truly moon, right? What happened after that was that if this big candle over here, big wick above, as well as a candle after that, had flipped the 20-month moving average, which is the orange line over here, from resistance here to support. During a bear market, and this is a overgeneralizing way to look at it, but during a bear market, the 20-month moving average is in general very important for a cycle analysis type thought. If it continues to be a resistance, then the bear market generally would resume, right? You got rejected over here by the 20-month moving average, and things just make another lick down lower. Here, you reclaim the 20-month moving average from resistance here back into support, and things became really bullish after that. What happened after this big giant green candle? You broke down underneath the 20-month moving average. You have a bearish back test against it. You're not able to hold another leg down, right? Okay, what happens after that? Back tested again, or at least got close to it. Not able to break through over that. What happened? Another leg down, right? Touching low Bollinger Band on the way down. Guess what happened over here? This couple of candles over here broke through the 20-month moving average and is flipping it from resistance here to support. This is not a bearish look. This is not anything that's bearish here at all. This is actually something that's extremely bullish to flip that from resistance to support. But guess what? You couldn't go that much higher. Why is that? Because price has basically done nothing for about close to 20 months. And Bollinger Band is basically not expanded yet because you don't have that required volatility for price to go up higher. But guess what happened though? This push up here got rejected, but over the last year or so, what you end up having was price end up oscillating around and actually end up expanding Bollinger Band a little bit further now. Now you have a chance to go up. Even over here, you couldn't really go up above like $33 because the Bollinger Band hasn't really expanded sufficiently. So guess what? It came back down, back test the 20-month average here once more, but now the Bollinger Band is expanding now. It looks like this thing is ready to go up. Now, with that said, $33 is still going to be a resistance zone. I think we most likely end up breaking above that. A couple of things that is actually pretty much of bullish development here. One is you look at the Ichimoku cloud. You can actually see that for the, over here, we broke through the Ichimoku cloud, back tested. It looks like it wants to run, but nope, ended up broken underneath a cloud here again, right? It just wasn't ready based on higher time frame because the monthly Bollinger Band just simply hasn't been expanded wide enough yet. But guess what? It got underneath the cloud here again, trying to break through into the cloud here once here, got rejected here. And what happened after that? Now we closed the week inside the Ichimoku cloud here for the first time. For forever, right? We finally closed back inside Ichimoku cloud here with a type of candle that is extremely bullish. We call this the Marubazu candle. Marubazu is Japanese for monk. Basically just saying that the monk doesn't have any hair, it has no wick above and no wick below. When you have a Marubazu candle, what generally happens after that is continuation of the trend. Continuation of what trend? Continuation of a bull trend, because the Marubazu here is green. Where is it going to go? If it ends up breaking above the $33 resistance zone, right? Well, you're still underneath resistance here, so be a little bit careful. But it's able to break above the $33, it's going to go up to the top of the cloud up here around, currently at $37.39. That's going to be the next level to challenge. If the Marubazu candle here works out, we were able to push through to above $33, and $37.39 is going to be the next destination. If you're looking at the weekly time frame, you might have a hard time getting there immediately. Why do you have a hard time getting there immediately? Because you don't have that weekly Bollinger Band expansion. On the monthly, it's starting to, but on the weekly, it's done nothing for a very long time, and you're getting a little bit contracty here. But we probably need a couple more impulsive, weekly candles to really truly expand it to get up to that $37, level to hit the top of the Ichimoku cloud and then see how it reacts from there. With that said, if it gets up there, and if it gets up there, then I think that would be a higher high compared to here, and this is a higher low compared to all these lows over here. So you are on a bull trend, and you're gonna most likely end up having more impulsive price action because this is an extremely brutal base that has been building for a very long time. And on the monthly, it looks like the 20-month moving average is curling. It looks like this thing is ready here on the monthly, but on the weekly, it still has some work to do. I think that GME is gonna be pretty bullish moving forward. I generally, when I see some stocks that does this on the Bollinger Band, it's gonna blow up, over the next year or two. It could take some time to get going, but generally it'll blow up. Now, on top of the resistance I was talking to you about, on the weekly Ichimoku cloud, you can see the same thing on the monthly Ichimoku cloud, where the Kijun, the red line over here, is also at the same level, right? $37.39. Probably stay $37.39 for a while. And it's probably going to go here to the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. That's going to be probably resistance level right here. You see how it got rejected over here by the Ichimoku cloud over here on the monthly in May, right? Big giant candle push above, couldn't break through. This is going to be the second time we challenge the Ichimoku cloud. I think we have a better chance here. Once we get there, and that could probably happen over the next couple of months or so, see how it reacts there. We might still get getting rejected there. But overall, again, bullish band's expanding. Last time it wasn't. There's just no way, bullish band is going to pull it back down. This time bullish band is expanding. I think we have a much better chance to break inside the cloud here this time, as opposed to last time. Overall, this is a bullish chart. Overall, Bitcoin or not, this is a bullish chart. Overall, if you're looking at the cycle high, cycle low, and you're trying to find out, whether or not you can draw some Fibonacci sequence and kind of get an idea in terms of how high this thing can go. If there are a couple of things. One thing, these wicks already got rejected at the 0.5, right? So in addition to $33, $34.66 is also resistance, and $37.39, that's also resistance. 0.618, $46.53, that's also resistance. You see the rejection right there last time too, right? You have a lot of resistance still, although the trend is bullish. That gives it a better chance for you to break these resistance over time, but it's not going to happen overnight. Whenever it does happen, though, if it breaks above the 0.618, then $70 is next. 0.76 here is next. If it's able to break above the 0.76, sometimes 0.86 can still be the final boss, but it's able to break above the 0.76, then you have a much better chance for a repeat triple-digit target for GME. There is a possibility for GME to hit some of these higher targets up here above because of the crazy consolidation that has happened here. 51 inside monthly candles is insane, right? If this turn out to break out of that zone, if this breaks the 0.786, if this closes a candle, a monthly candle above the January of 2021 candle, then up we go. Then I think that these targets up above is potentially reachable this cycle, and that would be my conclusion. $238, $339, and $564. These are possible. I don't want to get ahead of myself because we have a lot of resistance here above that needs to get broken. 33, 34, 37, 46, 70, 90, a bunch of resistance above. But as long as it keeps on forming higher highs and higher lows, I think we'll get there whenever that is. I do not know. Okay. All I know is that the trend is looking bullish. And all I know is that I'm in profits, and I'm just going to keep riding this thing and see where it takes me. Whenever it gets to these levels, it's important to see how it reacts, how the bullish band, whether or not it's continuing to expanding, or whether or not there's any kind of trend exhaustion. We need to keep monitoring the trend, but as far as I know, this is still probably the beginning of something beautiful. All right, guys, it's a fun talk with y'all. I hope you guys enjoy these videos talking about MetaPlanet, MicroStrategy, and GME. Have a good weekend. Bye.